Posted it, and I am going live right now. I'll see you there. Thank you. Woo-hoo. All right, Jan, yay. You made it. That was, oh my goodness. This was crazy tonight. I'm telling you, so the reason why I went ahead and started doing a live over, and first of all, yeah, Jan, can you tell me, Tracy, hi, good. Can you tell me, can you see fine? And can you hear me fine? Everything's good? And Emily, yay, thank you. Thanks for coming over. I am sorry about that. I was feeling terrible because I'm not going to lie to you all. You're my friends and we hang out and get Makey together pretty often. And hi, Christy. And so I am going to tell you, I have had just one of those days. I have been sad and just, it's been not sad really, just I don't know. I will just tell you, it's kind of weird. It's really taking me by surprise, but my son and his girlfriend broke up and I am just so devastated. I'm not going to lie. I know they're young. I know it's bound to happen, but I just love her to death. And I know my son broke up with her and she has a broken heart and it's just breaking my heart. So it's made me very sad today. And, so I did come out to the studio to work on my golden, and I know it's so funny because in the screen it says Nedlog, and if you all remember Nedlog, that can make me laugh. So yes, and I realized too today is also the anniversary of the death of Princess Diana, and of course it's been a long time, but it's so crazy because I remember that day as clear as a bell. I was actually in Kansas City. It was back when my parents still had their stamp company, and I was in Kansas City getting ready to teach. And I was devastated. And I cried I can't even believe I got through the class. So, I don't know. Maybe my heart just remembers that. I don't know. It's just been one of those days. It's kind of gloomy here. Like the weather's cooling off and it's kind of gray. So I will tell you, art saves and I will feel better. Thank you, Jan. And I'm sorry, I don't want to come here and pour out my problems, but I feel like, you guys know me. So if I'm, being fake, you'll probably just see right through me, but I'm good. I'm not, and like I said, coming out here and making art always does make me feel better. So yeah, Jan said some days are just a buildup of various emotions. And my kid's going off to college. Actually, I will not, hesitate to say that it has been a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. Yeah, I mean, I know Lady Diana, Princess Diana, I think it affected a lot of us. And my mom, I remember my mom was just beside herself too. And, I didn't live far from my mom, but like I said, I was out of town getting ready to teach. And so I wasn't with her. And so that was unusual. Anyway, yeah, so I have empty nest. I have, just a myriad of emotions. So this is what we go through. And this is why we like to get Makey. It's one reason, right? That's how I feel. Anyway, so I did come out here for half the day, really, and noodled around in my journal. So I do want to show it to you. I'm pretty excited about it. As you know, we've been working a little bit on just pages, and then we were going to kind of pull them together. So our first Makey, or actually I think it was the last Makey of last month. So it was the last Makey of July. We actually, when Estrella was here, and hopefully Estrella will find us over here too, because she was on the live on my phone. So I hope she finds us over here. Anyway, when Estrella was here, we made a journal together on the last Makey of July, and we made this golden, or if you remember, Nedlog. Hi, Linda. Emily, of course, definitely I will have better days. And I usually do. And usually they're just bad moments, not even bad full days. I decided a long time ago that I was never going to have a bad day again, but bad moments, sometimes, yes. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to interrupt myself again. So we're going to talk. I'm just looking at the comments, seeing something shiny. Jan says she thinks she's suffering from a concussion. And I remember, Jan, when you told me that Oki had smacked you in the face with his head, of course, by accident, but oh gosh, I hope you're okay. Are you going to go to the doctor? Well, I hope you feel better soon. And I hope you're still up to, working in your journal. And Jan has been, Jan and Gina, and yeah, Jan and Gina, I know specifically have been posting some great, some of their pieces from the journal. So this is great. Anyway, I'm going to back up. Okay. So Estrella and I made a journal. We made this accordion journal with 2 heavy mat board or illustration board covers. Okay. So, and I did mine a little bit different. Everybody, I think, did theirs different. Some people, I think, were even going to use a pre-made journal. But I went ahead and made this accordion journal, and I decided to go ahead and put pockets in all my pages. And I'm going to start here at the beginning. So, and I did go ahead and finish up some pages, which we'll talk about, and we will, I'll do some as a demo. But one thing, as you can see, I sort of have a color scheme going on here. I did a pyrrole red, a cobalt teal, some gold, and a little bit of yellow, although it might have been, this was yellow. Inside my journal, though, I kind of went with the same color scheme, although instead of yellow, I used green gold. So I kind of wanted all my pages to coordinate. And so here is the deal, okay? Let me make some room because it gets kind of long. So for my first pages, and I have multiple pages in one. And of course, you don't have to do it this way, but I wanted little reference pieces. So that's why I went ahead and did it this way. And so that way, if you ever have a question about what, your high flow looks like compared to your heavy body, compared to your fluid, you have everything sort of at your fingertips. I think this will also be a great journal for me for when I, for you too, if you teach. But for when I teach, this will be a great thing to have on hand, and people can actually, hold them, and pull them out and look at them. Jan says, how artistic of you. I'm just grabbing colors as I'm going along. And, I was doing that too. And then I thought, I just wanted it to be a little bit more cohesive, but normally I am much more random. So anyway, all right. So let's go through what we've kind of done one by one, because I know it's been a little bit sort of random. We haven't really finished a lot of pages together during our Makey sessions for this. So again, I made a pocket and I've labeled them here. Again, using my same 3 colors all the way down. So this is showing the 3 the 3 lines of acrylic paint. And actually, I'm sort of upset because there is more than 3 lines. There's 4 lines of acrylic paint. The 4th line being the open acrylic, which is more the slow drying acrylic. But I don't really use it that much. And honestly, it would be, if we were going to use it, it would really be more like a heavy body. Okay. So that's why I didn't get off into the open acrylic. Correct. Yeah, Jan, correct. Oh, yay, Estrella made it. All right, so here we have, again, the 3 types of acrylic paint and high flow, heavy body, and fluid. Again, as you can see, even on the camera, which doesn't always pick up that much texture, but I feel like you can see the sort of sheerness of the high flow, and then the textural, the thickness, the heaviness of the heavy body, and then the fluid, again, just much more even and sort of, in between the high flow and the heavy body. And then I went ahead, and this is on canvas, and I made myself 3 full, pieces doing the same thing. And you really can't see now in the camera. I know I feel like the fluid and the heavy body look very similar. You maybe can tell that this is a little thicker and a little more, opacity, but in person, you definitely can. So that would be our first one. Then I went ahead and basically did the same exact thing on canvas again, using the heavy body, high flow, and the fluid, but I wanted to do a little bit of a pattern, or, like a design. And we're going to work on these a little bit. And then I went ahead and did something with the colors, just a quick abstract using sort of all three, a little bit of the high flow, the fluid, and the heavy body, just to see how they would work together. I probably didn't get the heavy body quite as thick or as textural as I would like, but again, of course, I can go back over and do that and add that. I'm going to keep these out because I do want to work with them a little bit. So I'll keep those out. Again, one more time, and being sort of repetitive, but these things are good. Again, this is for reference, not necessarily for beauty, although we want it to look kind of cool. But same thing, high flow, fluid, and heavy body on watercolor paper instead of canvas. Okay. And one more time, the same thing. And this I think you'll find really interesting. Yeah, in person, it probably is much clearer which is which, but I feel like you can sort of even see it on the camera. I was looking in pictures and I still could get a sense of that. So again, on paper this time, high flow, fluid, and heavy body, with a pattern and all the various colors. And you can see, again, much more washy, almost like a watercolor. Of course, I could build up more opacity if I wanted to. I used it here, pretty liquidy, and even with thinning it out with a little bit of water. And fluid, again, similar, but just a little more opaque and more coverage. And you can see too, one thing I think that's interesting, these are completely 100% dry, as you can see, but if I turn this, do you see that sheen? Sometimes you see the sheen on the red only, where it's built up a little bit more. You don't really see it on the green gold or on the teal. And that is an issue sometimes with acrylic paints. Certain ones will have more of a matte quality and certain ones will have more of a sheen. So that is one of the things that varnish, either spray varnish or a brush on varnish can do, or also mediums. So like matte medium, or, come in different, it comes in matte or semi-gloss, satin, or glossy, and you can mix them with your paints so that you get the same sheen all across the board. Okay. Also, again, if you do varnish, that can help take care of that. And then this is the heavy body, which I feel definitely looks more painterly, right? So you're not going to get the same kind of smooth, I wouldn't necessarily want to do an illustration and use heavy body paints, right? So if I was going to do an illustration, I would probably definitely go with high flow or possibly fluid, but I would not use heavy body. You're not going to want, you could water down heavy body paint, or you could use some kind of thinner. I wouldn't really necessarily see the reason for that, though, when you have, if you would have these at your disposal. But, the heavy body paints, if you water them too much, you're going to lose a certain amount of the viscosity, and also the, what's the word I'm trying to think of? It's going to lose some of the integrity, okay, of the actual cohesion and stuff like that. So again, all 4 acrylics across the board on these, just to show how they might work together, how they look different, and how they work and act differently. Okay, so we'll move on to a few of our other pages here. And let's see, I have some things sitting out here I want to share with you too. So this is crackle paste on canvas. And it was on the raw canvas. And so it was real floppy, like these kind of. So I went ahead and adhered a piece of chipboard to the back just to make it a little more rigid. This is one thin coat of crackle paste over the top of canvas. And you can see how fine the crackles are. This is a thicker coat, a nice thick, generous coat of crackle paste over an Art Bite panel. And you can see the difference in the size of the crackles. And that's what I was showing you earlier. If you even look at this one, this is my board from my golden training. And obviously it's a larger surface. And this is pretty thick. I don't know if you can see, but it's actually raised up from that. So you can see the large cracks and crevices that you'll get in that. So this, and I have one of these, and I do want to share this with you too. This is the light molding paste on canvas, okay? And if you recall, I'm going to close this up just for a minute because I'm going to set that aside and work on this for a minute. If you recall, I just took my flock stencil, my little ATC flock stencil, and I used a palette knife, and I spread my molding paste through my stencil. And I don't know if you can see, but it does give you a raised up. You see that on there, gives you a raised up image. On this one, this is just the crackle, not crackle paste. This is the molding paste right here, plain molding paste on canvas. So it's white, okay? And it's like a marshmallow texture, you know, like a creamy marshmallow texture when you're troweling it out of your jar, but it dries really light and airy, and it accepts mediums really well. Although this one, I actually mixed paint in with the molding paste, okay? So I want to just show you this real quick. I'm going to go ahead and, let's see. I'm going to use a little fluid acrylic, my cobalt teal, or just teal. And don't forget, if you have a little plastic tray, remember, I'm just squeezing my paints in here. Eventually, this is going to get all filled with paint, and I'm going to do a little project, I think. I mean, it's in my brain, so no guarantees if it's going to turn out. But anyway, I am going to find my flat wash brush somewhere. Oh, there it is. Oh, good. Yeah. I haven't been using acrylics as much lately. I've been using more watercolor, so that's why it's taking me some time. So hopefully soon, as we finish our golden journal, this should be all the way filled up. Okay, just have a little bit of that fluid acrylic there. I am going to get my brush a little bit wet. And so this one I haven't done anything to. This is the one I did live last week or the week before, I can't remember now, but this one was already done, and I just put a light wash over the whole thing. But I don't know if you remember, my birds were kind of lavender colored because my stencil had a little bit of lavender ink on there. So when I troweled the molding paste through it, it pulled some of the color. Again, in this case, I actually added color to my molding paste. And now I'm just taking some straight cobalt teal. I'm going to just paint over the top of all these. And of course you could mix your, I could be doing different colors. I could do color mixtures and do gradients, whatever you want, but I just wanted to show you this real quick. And of course, if I wanted this one, I watered down more and made it more like a wash. But now I'm just going to take a little baby wipe. I could let it dry a little bit more. If I let it dry a little bit longer, then maybe I won't pull up so much color off the bottom. But what I'm trying to do is get the color off of the birds that were already colored. So I might have to go back and, do it a time or two. Or I could just do what I did here and just smush it all around. Well, it's funny. It created this funny little border because I guess some of the acrylic started to dry on the edges, but well, looks like I'll have to go back through and put another coat. That I think on this one I let it dry just a little bit longer is one reason why it didn't come off quite so much. And actually what's really cool, if you wanted to, you could actually lay the stencil back over this and, you know, actually paint the birds without even touching the background if you wanted to. Well, now I got it all wet and gushy. So it's just smushing around, but let that dry. And of course I could also go in there and take a little scrubby brush and pull some of that paint off the top if I wanted to. But basically I was just trying to get the dark birds to really pop through and, you know, and paint the background. So it might need another coat, but that's how I did this one. What am I doing? Let me move those out of the way and pull this back out. So now I don't know if you remember, this was our fiber paste. And again, I actually love fiber paste. I love fiber paste and I love pastel ground, both. They're kind of rough. And I love the way they absorb the paint. Now I had stamped this and painted it with some different colors, but I went ahead and went over it just so it could coordinate a little bit better. No big deal. I don't know how many of you have had a chance to try fiber paste, but if you feel a piece of rough press watercolor paper, it's pretty much exactly what it feels like. And I know that you can see that texture even on camera. So again, just spreading that out with a trowel knife or palette knife, letting it dry really well. And then you can do anything on the surface that you want. Stamp, you can do transfers, you can color, you can paint. So I love fiber paste and again, pastel ground for if you like sort of a rough texture. Now this again was my watercolor grounds. I don't know if you remember when we did this one, and I just put one coat of watercolor grounds on floppy canvas. And of course, I mean, it did work, but the colors are real kind of washed out. I didn't love it. And I didn't really and since I decided to change my color combinations, I felt like I wanted to just put that watercolor ground. And again, this is what it looks like. Sometimes I know you can kind of confuse it for gesso because it looks very similar to gesso, but it is different than gesso. Okay. Gesso is a primer, sort of a grounds, I guess you could call it, but it's a primer for your paper or canvas. It's a matte, but absorbent ground is much more, well, absorbent. I don't really know how else to say it. And it's also thicker. It takes longer to dry. So this is on an Art Bite media panel. And I put 2 coats and I let it dry overnight. And I really love the look of it. And I love that you can really see how all the golden colors. So this is the core watercolor. And the same 3, you know, colors. Red. I don't know what red that I chose. Let's see. It was in this one, which is Pyro Red Medium, and then the Cobalt Teal and Green Gold. And I love the way that they all look together when you see the colors of the watercolor and all of the acrylics. So that is all the pages for my front, okay? Let's stick this one back in here for now. My back, I have not yet put pockets because I don't know if I want to do pockets on the back. I think that I might end up attaching my pieces, and so far I only have some gessos done. Again, I cut some canvas, raw canvas. And I know a few of you have asked me what raw canvas I use. Honestly, I have some huge rolls of it. If you look at my table right now, that's what I have underneath me. I use these as sort of like spill mats all the time, and I use them, I just cut them up and use them for different things. But you can also buy pads, okay? If you go to my favorites, page, my favorite art supply page, there is a pad. It's only 6 by 8, but it's called Paramount. Let me grab one and show you. Okay, I don't have any, I can't find that brand, but this one's Art Alternatives, which I don't really know where I got this, I'm sorry to say, but it's just pads of sheets of canvas, okay? So some of them are more neutral, like this one's really white and it's really thin. This one is a cheaper one. The Paramount is more of a natural color. It's more of this color that you see down here, and is pretty heavy. So it just really depends. This thin stuff is what I've been using in my journal, and you can cut it with a paper cutter. And so here I have some black gesso put out and some white gesso, which I know that you can't see. And most of the canvas that you'll find in these pads is pre-primed. Okay, so it probably already is gessoed, but I went ahead and I think you can kind of see, in my monitor, I can kind of see where I did prime it again. And then I went ahead and mixed up the black and the white and made a nice gray gesso. Now they do have different colors of gesso. I even have gold gesso. So that's another thing that you can definitely experiment with. You can color your gesso, but again, it will kind of mess with the integrity of the gesso. So if you wanted to color it, I would just recommend using very small amount of probably your fluid acrylic or something like that. But there's nothing wrong with having a colored primer. Again, it's mainly used to give some extra tooth to your paper, or to make your paper so that it's not so absorbent. Okay, that's why you would want to gesso your paper. But it's also, used as a primer for canvas, okay, to kind of soak up some of the, some of the absorbency, and so that your paint will sit more nicely on the surface. All right, I'm going to stop for a second. So I guess this is the deal. If you are doing a journal like this and you have back pages, what I'm going to recommend, but you're not going to have obviously as many as in the front. Oh, hold on, I'm sorry. My things are falling apart here. Because on the front, this has, I think, 9 pages. Oh, no, 8. And then 6 on the back. Yeah, duh. I don't know. I'm so crazy. It's a 14-page journal. So 8 in the front, 6 in the back. So I have 3 here. I think I am actually going to end up doing my my little pieces of canvas and paper, because I think I'm going to do 3 gessoed canvases and 3 gessoed papers, and then I'm going to adhere them. I'm going to do some artwork, maybe do some different grounds, such as like these, where we were talking earlier when I had my phone camera on and I was showing you this, of doing some of the grounds or gels and grounds and doing them on top of these and using them as little drawing or painting surfaces. Okay. So that's what I'm going to do to prepare for my next 3 pages, because the next 2 Makeys, the next 2 scheduled Makeys for September, we are going to finish our journal. Okay, we're going to still be working in the journal. So for your homework, I'll have you do 3 gessoed canvases and 3 gessoed papers in whatever size that you're working in. Okay, so for tonight, for a little demo, since I wanted to show you sort of how I pulled all that together, I was going to do some little demos with these pieces. And then I also was just going to show you and share with you some of the other pieces that we did. I mean, not rocket science. I just ended up doing extras. So like this is high flow on watercolor paper. And then of course you saw my other crackle board. This was just with fluid acrylic. One of my I did a couple pattern. This one was with high flow, and this one was with fluid. I mean, I ended up pulling them out because I don't think I'm going to use them, but you know, I'll still keep them. I may still keep them in a pocket and, you know, use them for experiments. This was one of the ones that I started when we were doing color mixing with pearl and interference colors. So, which is one of the things I still wanted to continue on the back as well. So like I said, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I do want you to do 3 more pages with gesso in canvas and 3 with watercolor paper. Okay. And we'll work on those next time. For tonight, we're going to pull these canvases back out. The only reason I was pulling these out to show you is just to say, yes, I made some extra little, you know, of the cards while we've been going along. I'm going to save them because I might end up pulling them out and using them. And if not, that's okay too. So here we have the high flow, fluid, heavy body. And so I wanted to pull these out and show you these are my high flows in my color scheme. These are my fluids, same color scheme, and my heavy bodies. Okay. We'll do high flow first. And this is really exactly what I did on these 3 cards, only it's not on, this is on paper and this is canvas. Okay. I'm still going to work pretty wet. My brush has water in it, and now a little bit of green gold. It's so funny because I'm so used to working with watercolor lately. And then even when I worked on these, when you're working on paper with the high flow, it still flows out like watercolor. So it's funny how I sort of, when you start getting used to something like that, it's just, it moves differently, and it kind of is unexpected, I guess, in a way. Like I keep expecting it to react a little bit differently. So just by adding just a few little extra touches, you can really bring a lot more interest and, you know, really, I think, kind of bring a little bit more life to a piece. Um, just again, with just a few little touches. And then here, one thing that I really like to do, especially with the high flow, but with the high flow and the fluid too, to an extent, is really wash it down, water it down. The marks that you already made are already, you know, well, they're not dry, but they're setting up. And this is gonna buckle because it's so flimsy, but you'll still get the idea. And I could always mount this to something if I wanted to, or maybe I'll mount it to the back of one of my pages on it. Who knows? Anyway, if what I'm saying here is if you really water it down and make it more of a wash, you can actually go back over pretty much everything that you've already done, and all of, you know, your acrylic isn't going to move again if it's dry. So you can do a wash over the whole thing and all of your detail underneath will still show up. And I'm sorry, I hate that it's buckling like that, but next time maybe I'll tape it down for you. And then, of course, if you're working with a limited palette, the way that I am, you can also mix a couple of the colors to get together to get another hue in there. And that sometimes will add a little bit more interest, but still keep you in your same color palette. Ta-da! So that will be a cute page. And of course, it'll look much better once it is glued down or mounted to something. And so that is, again, high flow acrylic. We'll do the same thing with the fluids real quick. And then maybe with our heavy bodies, we should use a palette knife, because that is one awesome thing to be able to do, is use a palette knife to paint with. So now moving on to my fluids. Well, Becky, good evening. Yes, I'm glad, and Dana, I'm glad you made it too. But you know, got a really rocky start. I don't know if you missed all that hullabaloo in the beginning, but all right. So for this one, I think I'm just going to go right over, make all my flowers red instead. Well, it's cool. And a lot of times if you have a thicker, more viscous paint, you can easily scrape out. But since that teal is good and dry underneath, I should be able to scrape away and show my teal color through that. Now, a lot of times that works better in heavy body, just because the heavy body will sort of move and keep its peaks. This sometimes will have it, especially if it's thick, will have a tendency to sort of run and go back together, but it looks like it's holding okay. So, and that's a lot because it wasn't that thick and everything underneath was good and dry. And then of course this is going to be thicker and stay wet longer than the high flow, which of course is still buckling up really badly, but it is almost dry. This, I wouldn't want to do like a wash over the whole thing yet until it's set up a little bit more. Okay, so I'll set that aside. And this, I think I'm going to have to end up mounting also to something else, like a piece of cardboard or some kind of piece of board to make it lay flat. Or maybe, again, maybe I'll just mount it in my journal. That'll be a good fix. Well, that was good. I just stuck my finger in the wet paint over there. All right, set that out of the way. All right, this one, because I do want it to be good and thick, we're just gonna use a little palette knife here. And again, when I'm gonna be painting this much and this thick, this is definitely going to, I would say, take till tomorrow to dry. The green gold. Oh, Dana, thank you. I hope you come see it in person sometime. Yeah, my studio. I am very, very grateful for this space. Most of the time, it was at my kitchen table for so many years. Becky, you have a hot date? Lucky you. Well, definitely don't keep Fred waiting. I'm assuming it's Fred. Sort of making a mess, actually. If I had a palette spread out, it might be a little bit better. Oops. Oh, now I'm knocking down everything. Oh. I don't know if all of you saw me do a moon palette painting. Yes, it is difficult to paint with a palette knife, but I don't know if you guys saw me paint that moon painting with the palette knife before. And I really struggled with it for a long time, but once I kind of got in a groove, I loved it. And it turned out really, I love the way it turned out. I think I even know right where it is. I could pull it out and show it to you if you didn't see it. And you know what? Normally, if I was going to do that, I would stick with it and just do the whole thing. But I'm going to go ahead and pull out a brush and mix up a little bit of, I think, just a little bit of white gesso with some color and work in the background just a little bit. Like I said, I'm using the same colors uh, from, my palette that I chose, but I am mixing a little bit of white gesso in there. And I just feel like it gives a little more interest, but it also it helps you stay true to the color palette that you chose. So, and I actually just had a little bit of the cobalt teal and a little bit of the green gold. And I think it had a little spot of the red in there too. And I just mixed it all together with a little of the white gesso and got this sort of neutrally green here. All right, I'm going to pull back in a little bit of that green gold. I'm going to try on my palette knife because I want the same consistency of the look, but I don't know. Not guaranteeing anything here. Yeah, good. Yeah, good call, Jan. Celadon. Nice. Nice that you know the actual name because I was thinking that it looked familiar, but I don't think I would have remembered that name. And honestly, I think I want my other palette knife. This one is no good. Again, this is super thick. Would be better if I had worked on a little panel or something that had some, actual heft to it, but it's okay because after it dries, I'll let it dry like this and then I'll mount it either to a little substrate or again to one of my pages. And of course, this would be lots more fun. Well, not that this isn't fun, don't get me wrong, but I feel like it would be a lot more fun if I was working on a bigger surface. But again, this is just for, for your, again, repeating, I have to remind myself this. I'm not just telling you, but I have to remind myself also that this is a reference journal because, of course, my instinct always is to, let's, make it, let's paint it more and illustrate it and put words and stamps and all this stuff. But again, it's not for that. So not that it's not fun to experiment around and to have something cute on your pages, but all right. And I'm going to call that done. I like it. It looks very like textury and painterly, and I think it will look really cute when they're all together. Again, because I love the way this looks too, I mean, I can really see like different, maybe even one whole painting done with 3, maybe even separate components of the painting. And I mean, look at that. Again, really washy, like we talked about, more watercolory, more illustrative, and more painterly. And that's sort of, I mean, not that these paints have to be used that way, but that's definitely, even just in these small experiments like this, how it sort of ends up feeling to me and the easiest ways to work with them. Now this, I still would like to go in and possibly do a little bit of a wash in the background. It should be dry enough now. So I'm just going to take a little bit of, again, this is my fluid, a little bit of fluid acrylic here. And I'm going to water it down just a tad. Obviously that was not all the way dry. The red wasn't, but that's okay. Kind of like the way it does look, that it's smeared around a little bit. And voila. And again, sorry for the wrinkliness, but that's okay. I'll mount it and show you the finished product after. So, all right. So I know we've just ended up going more over acrylics, but I just don't think you can ever have too much of that stuff anyway. But go ahead and do however many more pages that you have open in your journal. Make yourself some pages in canvas and or in watercolor paper and get them all gessoed up. And then next, I'll post the schedule coming up here within the next day, tomorrow or Monday for sure. I will have the Makey schedule up for September. And then we will, over the next 2 episodes, I guess, do we call them episodes? Sessions, Makey sessions. We will finish off our last pages, okay? And we'll talk about gesso. And then if you do have any other mediums or gels or anything that you want to use or that you have questions about or that you'd like me to share, please let me know. And, we can always do those as little additional pages, all right? So let me take a minute to, well, first of all, thank you as always. I really appreciate you being here and putting up with me tonight, and also finding me over here because that was crazy. Let's see. Oh, I'm going to grab that moon that we were talking about, and let's see. Yeah, well, Jan said, I think I'd rather try this with a rubber brush. I feel fumbly fingers with a palette knife. So yeah, of course, like you don't definitely, I mean, I was even going to use a brush, but then I just decided to grab a palette knife at the last minute. So you can even use your fingers if you want to. All right. Thanks so much. Bye, Estrella. I'm going to grab that painting and show it to you real fast. I know right where it is. So this was done on Let's Get Makey Premium. So I'm pretty sure it was on Let's Get Makey Premium. If you just look back in all the videos, you should see it. And it was just done with one stamp. This is the New Moon stamp, and everything else is just heavy body acrylic and a palette knife. In fact, I'm pretty sure, I don't know. I think it was one of these. I don't know. Maybe it was smaller. You'll see it in the video. So but you can see definitely the imperfections. This is an imperfect, perfect for the imperfection collection. Oh no, Libby, yes, you do. We do. We have the black stripes. I forgot to pull those out. Libby said, I painted 3 black stripes. We talked about a few weeks ago on watercolor paper. So yes, I will also pull those out. I'm sorry. I guess it wasn't in my pile here, my little pile. So this was one of those sort of, it just wasn't in my pile. So it made me forget about it, but I'm glad you reminded me. And so yes, we will also do that. That's for some of the color mixing that we were doing. Okay. So we still have 2 more weeks. So definitely pull that back out and we'll use it. All right. I'm going to go for this evening. I want to thank you for being here with me. And I hope that you get to go get Makey. And I hope that you are making your golden journal. And like I said, we will continue this into next week and the week after. And then we have some other, I have some other projects planned, of course, for the rest of September's Makeys. Thank you so much. Great seeing you all and being with you as always. I love you to the moon and back, and I'll see you and talk to you soon. Look for the schedule on Makey Premium either tomorrow or Monday. Of course, I'll let you know. Thanks and have a great, wonderful night. And hopefully I'll see you really, really soon. Happy Labor Day weekend, everybody. Talk to you later. Mwah. Bye.